Hello, and welcome to Backdrop of History YouTube channel. When you think of ancient Egypt, you probably picture pyramids, mummies, and hieroglyphs. But beyond the desert sands and grand monuments lies a civilization full of bizarre traditions, shocking practices, and mind-blowing achievements that still puzzle historians today. Today, we're diving into 10 crazy facts about ancient Egypt that will leave you stunned. From strange medical cures to pharaohs with secrets, this is history like you've never heard it before. Let's begin. Fact 10. The pyramids were not built by slaves. When most people picture the Great Pyramids of Giza, they imagine armies of whipped slaves toiling under the blazing sun. Hollywood has drilled that image into our heads. But the truth, it's far crazier and far more surprising. Archaeological evidence shows that the pyramids were built by paid workers, not slaves. Excavations revealed workers' villages with bakeries, breweries, and even medical care. These were skilled laborers who rotated shifts, fed well, and took pride in their work. The pyramids weren't just construction projects, they were national efforts, like the moon landing of their time, symbols of unity and power. The fact that Egypt mobilized tens of thousands to build monuments that still stand 4,500 years later is astonishing. Fact 9. Pharaohs were often overweight. If you imagine a pharaoh, you might think of a slim, godlike ruler carved into temple walls, but reality paints a very different picture. Many pharaohs, including Queen Hatshepsut and Amenhotep III, were overweight and even diabetic. Their diets were filled with honey, bread, beer, and fatty meats. CT scans of royal mummies show signs of clogged arteries and obesity. In fact, Hatshepsut, the female pharaoh who ruled Egypt for 20 decades, was likely obese and may have suffered from diabetes. The contrast between their godlike image and their very human health struggles is shocking. Fact 8. Egyptians invented the first breath mints. Ancient Egyptian cuisine was heavy on onions, garlic, and fish, flavors that left some powerful smells. So what did they do? They invented the world's first breath mints. Recipes for breath-freshening tablets included ingredients like frankincense, cinnamon, and honey, rolled into pellets. These were chewed not only for fresh breath, but also as a form of medicine. It's strange to think that 3,000 years ago, people worried about the same problem we do today: bad breath.
Fact 7. Cats were sacred and protected by law. If you thought the internet's obsession with cats was intense, wait until you hear about ancient Egypt. Cats weren't just pets, they were sacred animals. They represented Bastet, the goddess of home, fertility, and protection. Killing a cat, even by accident, was a crime punishable by death. Families mourned their cats by shaving their eyebrows, and wealthy Egyptians sometimes had them mummified and buried with jewelry. In wars, Egyptians even used cats as psychological weapons. When the Persians invaded Egypt, they carried cats on their shields, knowing Egyptians would hesitate to fight and risk harming the animals. Crazy, right? Fact 6. They had strange medical practices. Egyptian medicine was both advanced and bizarre. On one hand, they practiced surgery, set broken bones, and even had detailed medical texts. On the other hand, some of their treatments sound insane. For example, they used crocodile dung as a form of contraception. They believed smearing it inside the body could prevent pregnancy. Another remedy involved using moldy bread on wounds. Strangely, this may have worked, since mold contains natural antibiotics. Their medical papyri show a fascinating mix of science, magic, and superstition. The line between priest and doctor was often blurred, and treatments were as spiritual as they were physical. Fact 5. Cleopatra was actually not Egyptian. Perhaps the most famous figure in Egyptian history, Cleopatra VII was the last pharaoh of Egypt. But here's the twist. She wasn't fully Egyptian at all. Cleopatra was of Greek descent, part of the Ptolemaic dynasty that ruled Egypt after Alexander the Great's conquest. While she embraced Egyptian traditions and presented herself as the reincarnation of Isis, her bloodline was Macedonian Greek. This shocking truth flips the image of Cleopatra as a pure Egyptian queen on its head. Yet her brilliance, charisma, and cunning ensured her place as one of history's most unforgettable rulers. Fact 4. Mummification wasn't for everyone. We imagine Egypt filled with mummies, but in truth, mummification was an expensive process reserved for the wealthy and powerful. The poor couldn't afford elaborate burials. Instead, their bodies were often buried in sand, which naturally preserved them. For the elite, however, mummification was a 70-day ritual involving organ removal, drying with natron, and elaborate wrappings. What's crazier is that embalmers sometimes experimented. Some bodies were found stuffed with sawdust to maintain their shape, while others had golden tongues placed in their mouths to speak in the afterlife. Fact 3. The Great Pyramid of Giza was the tallest building on Earth for 3,800 years. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built around 2560 BC, stood at 481 feet tall. For nearly 4,000 years, no other man-made structure surpassed it. It wasn't until the 14th century, when England's Lincoln Cathedral was completed, that the pyramid was finally dethroned. Think about that. Our modern skyscrapers are impressive, but the Egyptians achieved this with copper tools, wooden sledges, and raw human power. That's not just crazy, it's almost unimaginable. Fact 2. They believed the brain was useless. The Egyptians were pioneers in medicine, but they got one crucial thing hilariously wrong. They thought the brain was useless. During mummification, embalmers removed the brain through the nose with a hook and discarded it. The heart, on the other hand, was preserved carefully as they believed it controlled thought, memory, and emotions. Imagine, the organ we now know as the seat of consciousness was thrown away like garbage, while the heart carried the weight of the soul. Fact 1. They had a Book of the Dead. Perhaps the craziest fact of all, the Egyptians had an instruction manual for the afterlife. Known as the Book of the Dead, it was a collection of spells, prayers, and rituals designed to guide the soul through the dangers of the underworld. Pharaohs and nobles were buried with these texts, painted on papyrus scrolls or tomb walls. They described how to navigate demons, cross rivers of fire, and face judgment before Osiris. The most famous scene shows the heart being weighed against the feather of truth. For Egyptians, death wasn't an ending, it was a journey, and this book was their roadmap. From the invention of breath mints to the chilling rituals of mummification, ancient Egypt remains one of the most fascinating civilizations in history. Their world was filled with mystery, brilliance, and traditions that still boggle the mind today. Which of these facts shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unbelievable history stories.